Right now, I'd love to ask Molly and Jack to come up and join me up here on this platform so we can talk a little bit. Hopefully everybody's mic's working. We'll find out in a second.
Mine is.
All right, is your mic working?
Yeah,
you sound great. Okay, beautiful. What really struck me about your two stories is that they very nearly bookend the disability movement. So when I think about David's story, it began 70 years ago. And then 70 years ago was a time when placement in an institution was the only option. Parents were told that's the best possible thing you can do for your child. And that it came from a place of wanting safety, and seclusion meant safety at that time. With the passing of your parents, and then many years in between, those definitions changed, didn't they? And options opened up, much due to the tremendous advocacy of the ARC over those decades and other disability advocates. And so the world started to really change. We can recognize that David only knew his environment. He didn't have any idea that he could have anything different, and so he couldn't see what all the possibilities were. But you, Jack, could see the possibilities. And that was the most important moment in his life, when you knew that you could champion for something different. Tell us a little bit more about what you wanted to see different for David, and what his response was to all the change in his life, because they were big changes.
Good question. You have a vision, and it's a hope, but you're still learning the whole process. And there were many opportunities that I had to learn. Everything from Special Olympic program, there were job opportunities. I wanted some form of independence for him. I was amazed, as well as others, at his growth factor as he became aware of his own situation and the power that was given to him to participate, to be included as part of the community. Doors were opening.
He just embraced that.
Yeah, very, very quickly for him, and he wanted to participate and be included in the community.
Yeah, and you talked earlier about how, this was the first time David had the opportunity to make choices in his life, when he finally was no longer bound by what someone else decided for him.
Yes.
And what a difference that made in David's life, having the opportunity to make choices. He couldn't always speak clearly to articulate exactly what he wanted, but he could certainly convey what mattered to him.
Yes.
How were you able to convey that to others who maybe didn't get it right away?
That was a challenge, no question. But there were support people, his caregivers, people in the ARC community, others who basically said, well, there's a dance, there's special population bowling. David, do you want to, he was a participant. There's an art class, there are dancers, there are concerts in the park available. Let's go, let's be part of.
And he was a goer and a doer.
He was a goer and a doer. There are special travel programs. He went on a cruise, the Love Boat cruise. He went to Las Vegas. Pull that. He knew exactly when he won and stuff. And he went to Hollywood to see The Price is Right, his favorite show.
That's pretty great.
It was fantastic. There were a lot of opportunities. They all had to be learned, and they kept expanding.
What a tremendous change over a lifetime.
Yes.
From being restricted in every possible way.
Yes.
To having so much freedom. It's really exciting when you think about the change that was made during his lifetime. Molly, your story is kind of the other bookend, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're how old now?
I'm 32, turned 23 in March.
23 in March. Everybody write it down. You went to school with kids who had disabilities and kids who didn't have disabilities, right? That was a different world from what David lived. You're out and about in the community. You are working. You are a leader. This is a very different time, isn't it?
Yeah.
But this might not be true for everybody with a disability, is it? Does everyone with a disability, is that true for everyone with a disability?
No, it can be, but it's not true for everyone. Because I think part of it is that still there's stigma. When you go in a store, when you do a job, there's still stigma. And also, I think it also depends on the person. Because some people like to stay at home. But I think we could. And I think the good thing is, it is changing. So community is allowing it. But I think, yes, I think everyone can do it if they have opportunities. But I think, again, there are so many changes we could make to go even farther. But it's so different than it was. So yeah, I think everyone can do it.
So you see what's possible for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the definition of an advocate right there. You've had a lot of opportunities in your life, Molly, and you've been able to make choices throughout your life because you have a supportive family. And that's been tremendous for you. In the film, you talk about the value of being allowed to kind of fail and make mistakes and figure things out. And I would love to hear more about that. Why is it important? And when have you had to kind of figure things out?
Yeah, so I think the reason it's important is because if you don't fail, then you don't know what success is. If you don't fail, then you don't know how to fix things. Oh, I can tell you examples of many times things did not go as I thought they would.
Has anybody else had that experience?
Yeah. My big example is when I was 12, I decided I want to travel to Ireland on my own. And
I'm sorry, did everyone hear that?
yeah.
12 years old, Ireland, on my own.
Yep.
Just want to make sure you all heard that.
Yeah, it's crazy. My mom had to sign over papers saying if something happened, it's not the liability. And I was great. I was checked in, made it through all of the security, and then the Trump came. And then that said, if you want to give up your seat on this flight, you could get free round flight tickets, free hotel, free transportation, and free food. And I thought, you know what? That sounds like a deal that I have to take.
12 years old, give up your seat, take some unknown flight later for a free ticket. Okay. This sounds great.
Of course, I almost did. Luckily, I did tell my parents, who said no. But that was an example of not thinking it through and thinking you knew best. So that's an example. Another example could be, for example, community. You might not fail, but other people could fail you. For example, jobs. Sometimes when you apply, like the one I applied for, they didn't want to interview because of the disability. So that's a fail. But I think, for me, I don't think of it as fail. I think of it as a chance to try again, to see what happened and to learn from your mistakes, and also, if you don't fail, I think part of being an advocate is seeing things, seeing what needs to be changed, and then that sets that fire that says, okay, this didn't work, let's do it, let's go, and get this done right this time.
Right, so every quote-unquote failure is an opportunity for learning and growing and making things different than it is right now. Right, so we have to fail. I don't like that word. Maybe we missed the mark.
Yeah.
And we try again. I'd love us to hear a little bit more personally about experiences that you guys have had. Jack, I'm going to go out on a limb here and hope that you'll tell this story. In addition to bowling and other activities, I understand that David had a special fondness for chicken. That is what I understand. Is there any chance that you'd be willing to tell that story?
Well, it's the family story. David had a challenge with weight. I mean, we had to work with him and the caregivers, portion control, things of that nature. So it was always a challenge. And I came into his apartment one day and he had 2 large pieces of chicken and mashed potatoes. And it just seemed far more than he needed or should have had. And I said, that looks like a little bit too much, Dave. And I took one of the pieces of the chicken, and I knew if I put it back in the refrigerator, he would go get it. And so I kind of took it with me. And he was being trained for like fire drills, how to use 911, interaction with the police officer. So there was a lot of training going on at that time as to safety skills, emergency reaction and stuff. So I left. He called 911. The police came. I wasn't there. The caregivers were there. Counselors were there. They talked about it, but I became the chicken thief. And, the family, over the years, he would bring it up at all the various family times. It heightened to, planes overhead with lighting and, come on out, chicken thief, what did you call it before the
Megaphone?
No, when you put an APB.
An APB. We put an APB out for the guy with the chicken.
Be on the lookout for the chicken thief. Don't approach. Call your local authorities immediately and stuff. So it became something. He laughed and laughed about it.
He has such a great sense of humor.
Absolutely.
And, what a fantastic laugh.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I can still hear him.
Yeah.
So thank you for being willing to let us in on the family's secret story. Molly, I know you don't have a chicken story, but I do know that you are a very active young woman, and I would love for you to share with the rest of the folks here kind of some of the things that you really enjoy doing.
Yeah, so what I really enjoy doing is I like theater. One of my big passions is theater. And I did this all through high school. I think what I really liked about the high school is that you auditioned, and that they treated you as everyone else auditioned. So they didn't give you a role. They didn't give you any special things due to your disability. In fact, we did Romeo and Juliet in Spanish, and there was there was some accommodations, but it was like practice Spanish, and if you don't know your Spanish, that's it. But I think also I'm part of Family Theater, which is a theater company made up of only actors and actresses with disabilities, which is really empowering because it's, again, looking beyond the disability, seeing an actress, and not an actress because of a disability or with a disability. Oh, and also, I love being in community, government. There's a lot of things I like.
And for those of you who don't know, Family is actually a professional level theater company, and they do productions all year. So keep your eyes open for whatever they've got going on next. You might see Molly in it, you don't know. Does anybody in the audience have questions for Jack or for Molly? We would love to take your questions.
I want to let you know that I'm a family tutor.
Yeah, Donna's just sharing. Donna, who's a member of our street team, is also an actor in the Family Company. Yeah.
Where does Molly work right now?
Molly, the question was, where do you work right now?
Yeah, so now I work for UC Health as a PAL, which is Patient Access Liaison, which basically means I answer all the phone calls, do refill my appointments, and I work at home. But the one thing is I'm bad at spelling, and my whole job is spelling. So I don't ask me why I trouble it, but I love my job.
Lots of people are bad at spelling.
Yeah.
That's why we have spell check.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Other questions? Oh, yeah.
How long was it before your
David, David,
Yeah.
Jack, how long was it before David could get into an apartment?
We were very fortunate at the time that he made the move from New Jersey to Colorado. There wasn't that waiting list that we're all familiar with now and have to put up with. He was assigned to a group home, and they found he was very adaptable, very compliant. He wanted to seek approval for doing things right and followed. And he was never a disciplinary individual in any form of it. So he thrived in that environment and then moved on to an apartment setting where staff was on site. So he had a lot of independence, a lot of freedom, but the staff helped with food, money issues, but they went shopping with him. He loved to push the cart and stuff. So a lot of it going on. So he made the transition very easily from group home to I call semi-independent living. But we were fortunate that there was a space available for him at that time when he came. It was over 45 years ago.
Yeah.
I would like to know if Molly could play any part on Broadway, in any play or show, what part would she most like to play and why?
Did everyone hear the question? Okay.
Yeah, so if I could be in any Broadway play, I think I would love to be in Dear Evan Hansen as Zoe.
Dear Evan Hansen is a relatively new play. Some of you may not have seen it, but it's excellent.
Yeah, because I think she has more. It's like more depth to her character than just the girl at the beginning. You learn about her story. Oh, and I'm not sure if it's on Broadway, but if I could be in any movie, Peter Pan as Tinkerbell, because that was something I loved. That was a childhood, and so that's
Peter Pan as Tinkerbell, I could totally see that. Yeah, Dave.
Jack, did you get resistance from that institution when you tried to take your brother out? And is that place still around?
Like most institutions, I don't think, it may exist, but maybe for the most severe individuals, okay? I went there many times to visit, and it was an institutional, pastoral setting, looked good, but, barracks setting and individuals. I didn't know it at the time that things were changing on a political level to have, closing those institutions down and more towards community settings. So the director was very open to the idea of me taking what I presented. I think I hemmed and hawed. Is it possible? Is it even conceivable that I could take David? He goes, when? When? How can, it was quick, fast, efficient, and they, packed his bags and off we went.
I think at that point they had seen the writing on the wall that those doors were going to be closed permanently. And so, and that's thanks in great part to the ARCs that were across the country. Our chapter is one of 650 chapters across the U.S., and the ARC U.S. has been around for more than 60 years. So, yeah, go ahead.
I'm a part of Speaker for Ourselves program.
Yes, Joan is sharing that she's part of the Speaking for Ourselves program along with Molly.
I'm vice president.
She is vice president. Any other questions?
I'm also part of Speaking for Ourselves people first. Also, on Saturdays, can I still, even though bowling has begun, can I still go participate in the Rise bowling on Saturday?
I don't know anything about bowling on Saturday, but I might like to come. We'll have to find out a little bit more about that later. Thank you, Donna. Donna's also part of Speaking for Ourselves and People First. One more question.
Molly, what does it mean to you when you get to show up somewhere that other individuals with disabilities are achieving things beyond average? So maybe a marathon, maybe doing Ironman on your own, all those things. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I think what it means is it's almost like it impacts you that yes, you can do it, and it builds the idea of even though that it is achievable, that you can do stuff. And it's just amazing to see, because even if you're not doing it, it's giving you the sense that what can be possible and not limited. Because I think a lot of times, even in school, you feel limited to what they say you can do. You feel limited by restrictions, by what the government says. And I think when you see people, it builds the idea that there is more to you, that you have more to achieve, and that it is endless. And it's really just fun. I think that community.
Well said, Molly. I think to wrap up our discussion, oh, we got one more? Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to hear from each of you, Jack and Molly. I'm wondering if you can share one thought or idea that each of us can do when we leave tonight to help someone else recognize the importance of more inclusive world for people with disabilities.
I got it, Christy. I would say recognition and inclusion. And I mean by that when I come across someone at the crosswalk and who I know has, Down syndrome. I mean, you know what they look like, okay, and who they are. Nice t-shirt, sweet, love those earrings. How you doing? It's amazing that face that comes back to you. You're talking about people who are uninhibited, love that recognition, love to be noticed, love to engage. That they are...
Connection.
There is a connection. David taught me that.
Don't be afraid to make a connection.
David, the elevator story, he would be on the corner and saying, hi, buddy.
I'm going to do that.
Yep.
Molly, what do you have to say?
Yeah, so my big thing is labels. Not to put labels on people. Not to see beyond the disability. And to, again, make that human connection. To find it. Because when you first see someone, you might think it's like for example, if you walk down and you see someone who has a service dog or is blind, look beyond. See the connection. See the humanity. Because in the end, we're all people, and we just want to be treated as people, and so then, break down the labels, make the connection, be open, and be willing to really connect, and to really meet the person as a person, not a person with a disability.
Oh. So beautiful. I'm make sure I didn't miss any, but I got one more.
I just want to add that what Molly just said applies to every connection you can have with any human being, disability or otherwise. That was beautifully said.
Amen.
Thank you.
So beautiful. Oh, just great. To wrap up our discussion today, I wondered, Molly, if you would be willing to share some of your poetry. I know Molly talked a lot about other things that she enjoys doing, but she did not mention that she is a poet and writes some quite beautiful, moving poetry. And so I've asked her to choose something to read for you today to close us out from this discussion. So it's all yours, Molly.
Yeah, thank you so much. So the poem I'll read is called What to Call Me. You ponder what you should call me. It's a question that everyone faces at some point. You call me weird. You call me different. You call me special. But that is not my name. You call me slow. You call me lazy. You call me lightened. Still, that is not my name. You call me faulty. You call me broken. You call me damaged. That is not my name. You call me disabled. You call me challenged. You call me flawed. That is not my name. Just call me Molly.
It was beautiful. Thank you both for joining us for this great discussion. It wouldn't have been the same without you.